So, hello there. Hello, Professor. My name is Shervan Nickolai Dabu, and I'm here today to explain my solutions to the different problems presented to me in object-oriented programming using Java and arrays. So, there's 5 problems here that I've already answered. I'm just going to go through them while I explain the code that I have made and the criteria for each problem. So, for now, let's start with problem 1. So, excuse me. Problem 1 requires me to make a student quiz performance evaluation program, which I will have to find the average of 3 different quizzes and display the name of the student, the the quizzes, and of course the actual quiz average. So, first of all, is I need to create a student class, and it needs to have a field of string name, as well as an integer array of quiz scores that stores about 3 quizzes. Explicitly mentioning 3 quizzes, meaning that uh, I also set the array to only 3 contents, basically 0 to 2. A class, the class itself has a constructor. I already initialized it using a name and quiz scores. A method, I already have these two, for computing the average and returning that result to the display information to print out, sorry, the information that prints that prints the information of the student and the quiz scores, as well as the computed average. I already mentioned this earlier. And the main class as well asks the user to input the name and the 3 quizzes, create one student object. Yes, I only have created one, and display info. Calling the method display info using the student object. So I did this with 2 files. I've already based it off, or rather, I based it off of Sir's or our professor's teaching on how they handled object-oriented programming. So I made 2 files, one named student.java and the other one named main.java. I did this for all files, or rather all problems, so it just uses the OOP concepts to call the functions, or rather the methods, from another file. So let's start. So let's discuss the main file first, or how the data will be passed, or rather how the data will be created first. So here's the main file. I used scanner to make sure that I can input something. Uh, this is the declaration of the class main, public, so it can be accessed by the entire library, or rather the entire file manager here. I also created this insert variable for counting. This is for the actual entering of the quiz grades, starting from quiz 1, or rather index 0 to index 2, or quiz 3. Starts from 0 to 2, or in quiz terms, or just us using us, quiz 1 to 3. This is why it says insert +1. So it won't be 0 to 2, but it would display 1 to 3. So this would just keep looping. It's a while loop until it reaches the condition of equal or greater than 3. Once it reaches 3, basically just stops the entire loop and of course proceeds to this calling of the actual, or rather instantiation of the actual object, which is student, stored in the variable students with the parameters of name and quiz scores. Name here, using getLine, getting the string of the name using getLine. Here, this will print out first, and this will print out suit. Or rather, this will be the one the user will be inserting. Same as this, but this for integers only. Yeah, but this is referencing to this array right here, quiz scores. For each index, starting from index 0, I've already mentioned this, user will enter something, or rather an integer, providing their grade. So there's not validation or any type of limit on how many numbers you can enter, because it isn't in the problem, so I didn't really add it. So just keep in mind that there's really no validation here, so the user has to input something that they can only input themselves. They're not supposed to input something like, let's say, a letter, since the program will crash. I did not use any try-catch errors here or any type of validation at all. So let's proceed to how the data will be passed. Passing the name. Let's say I've created the name integer, the name string right here. Passing in the quiz scores from the while loop here. We now proceed to the actual program to compute the grade. So I'm sorry, I have a bit of a cold. So passing in the arguments, it will be passed through this, the, what do you call this again? The constructor name here from the earlier one from here will be passed through here, and the array, this will be passed in this, and it will be equal declared into this, and this will be declared into this name. I just made them like this so I don't have to use the this method, you know, this. So I don't have to use this. Yeah. Yeah, this. Sorry. So that's why I made it a bit different, or rather just capitalized it so it can still be technically the same thing. After that, after it has received the data, it can now do the computation right here. So it will loop for about 0, 1, 2, 3 times basically, starting from 0 all the way up to 2. While it's looping, it will be stored, or rather, the different parts of the array being accessed using the I, or for each iteration, the access quiz scores, indexing to 0 to 2, it will all be added to average for each loop. So it will just add quiz 1 first, store it in average, and then add quiz 2 after the next loop, store it in average again, and for the last loops, or for quiz 3, being stored, being looped again, and storing in average, and until the loop breaks. Once this condition is met, it will break the loop. Finally, be able to compute the average. See, right here. This is in doubles, by the way, since average is will naturally have decimals, so I made it into a double. Excuse me. Average divided by 3, or divided by equals to 3, basically just average is equals to average divided by 3. And it will return average. Excuse me. So, after all of that, you can now proceed to the actual displaying of the information right here. It will display all the information that was just passed through. Student information, the name of the student passed through here, and here. Print lines, so it can have an extra space in the bottom, so it could just look a bit more organized. The quizzes, 1 to 3 quizzes. So I did a for loop again, starting from I to 0 again, and up to 3, of course, because there's only 3 quizzes. But if there's going to be more quizzes, I could adjust this, and I could adjust this using the linked method, or rather the linked option or function in Java. But since there's only 3, so you just have to hard code it into 3. So each time it iterates, it would print quiz, and I plus 1, basically just if it's on iteration 0, it's basically just going to print 1 rather than 0. So it can just be more human friendly. Or rather, it would just make sense, because it wouldn't make sense if it started from quiz 0, now would it? Then, of course, another space, and the indexing of the quiz scores. This is just to show the actual different quizzes, or the quiz scores. After this, the actual computation right here. Print quiz average, and then this, calling this function, doing all of this. And after this, or rather after this entire function, it will return the value of average, which is a double, which will be placed right around here. So let's test out the program. I've already compiled this, so this is basically the class object already. So I just have to run it again. Oh, there's already something up here, so we're just going to ignore that. Okay, seems to be an issue. Let's just run it again. Why is your temp running code? Okay, I'm just gonna ignore that. Not sure why that exists. Probably just an error. So let's insert my name. Shervan. And let's enter my quiz. My first quiz, let's say I got 98. I wish. Let's say I got, for the second quiz, I got 93. Fair enough. And finally, for the third quiz, 95. So, it did all of this, or in the student Java right here, did all of this, and you can see it right around here. student information, this, my name, quizzes, iterated right here, and of course the average. I'm not gonna do the basic math, but sure, let's just try to validate or see if I actually the program did the computation properly. 98 plus 93 plus 95. I'm sorry, I'm a bit sick and a bit full right now. So 286 divided by 3, the quizzes, and we get the same answer. Hooray! There it is. So quiz 1 is done, or rather problem 1 is done. Let's proceed to problem 2. So problem 2, here it is. I'm sorry. So problem 2 wants me to make a product weekly sales summer quiz, or rather program. So it basically just asks me to give the total sales for 4 weeks, or 4 weekly value sales, or rather 4 entire weeks, all in totalized and summarized, including the each week sale and of course the name of the product. So let's do it again. It requires a field string product name again. Here specifically, a double array named sales that stores about 4 weekly sales values. A class must include the constructor. I've already made this as well. Total sales method to compute all the total sales, and of course display information to print out all of the information regarding the sales, the total sales, and of course the product name. In main, input the product name and 4 weekly sales. Again, I only instantiated one product or one instance of a product only, and then display the summary using display info method again. So let's proceed. So let's start with main Java again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, by the way, for the quiz, for the problem 1, just quick. I just forgot to mention that this is the thing that actually calls display info. So yeah, just a quick heads up. It's gonna be the same thing as here, right here, to actually make the program work for product.java, or in the earlier case, student.java. So start with the main function again. It's actually the same thing, just calling the using the scanner integer scanner Java and string for next line being placed in product name string, basically the name of the product for user input. Here again, similar to the earlier creation, it will for loop and it will keep looping until it reaches the condition, getting my information repetitively until it does again the condition. So it will print out per each iteration this, similar to the quiz thing, with starting from 1 up all the way up to 3, or 4 rather, 0 to 4, 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, starting to 1 to 4. And then using the sales array right here, storing each of the actual sales per week using the next double, since it requires me to create a double array. That's why it's next double, since the data type is going to be double for this entire array. Indexing via I, starting from 0 all the way up to 4. Oh no, 3. 3 and 3. After that, it would go to here with this instantiation over here using the product variable and the product class. Calling the product display info or the display method, we will proceed to here. Again, passing to the name and the sales from earlier using this constructor, and of course declaring it through the actual local variables, or rather the instance attributes right here, using the constructors right here, being stored into this and being stored into this. Okay, let's proceed. Yeah. By the way, I've already set it to 4, so it's only up to 4, or rather 4 contents. Similar to the earlier one. I just didn't show it, or rather, I just didn't explicitly mention it. So, public double total sales, again, from the earlier requirements. I already made a total variable to store the total of the sales for each iteration. Oh, by the way, I used a for loop here because I just realized that I could just use a for loop rather than a while loop, because it's actually much more easier than doing a while loop because it's already predefined here. So just a quick heads up. So made another for loop around here. So starting from index 0 all the way up to index 3, it will index here 0 to 3, adding them repetitively. So let's say the sales for the first index, or rather index 0, is going to be 150. It will store it to total because of the plus equals, because that literally just means total is equals to total plus sales. Then again, after that, it would reiterate, then add the next index, which is index 1, add it again to total sales, already including the sales index 0. So it will just keep doing this until it reaches index 3. Basically it for this part. And then it will return total as a double value. Okay. So after that, we go to here. Still the same thing. It will just print out all the information and all of the readable things for the human to see, or us humans to understand properly. So here, product information, sales, product name. From here, yep, the string of product name being declared through here and being used around here. Create a new line again, weekly sales. Again, it would iterate through the entire array, showing the different sales for each week. Right here, would print out, let's say for the first iteration, week 1. For the first iteration, even if it's 0, like I mentioned earlier, it would print out 1 because it's always going to be plus 1. Because it would be weird to print out 0. There's no such thing as a week 0. It wouldn't make any sense. And it will, of course, access or index the sales variable, rather the sales array, to actually show the sales for that particular week, or in this case for that particular index. Would print out, and calling the function again, return this. It will become this. This will be transferred to this, showing the computation over here to here. Okay, let's test that out. I've already compiled this again, so you can see it right around here, product class and main class. See, I've already created 2 files. It's all going to be the same for every problem, so it's always going to be 2 files. Okay. Okay, enter the product name. Let's say my phone, POCO F7. Yep, that's my phone right now. Let's say the first week of the release of POCO F7 had about how big of a number do I want this? 100,000 pesos worth of sales in the Philippines. On the week 2, it had about 200,000 sales. Week 3, it had about 150,000 sales because of the release of the iPhone 17. On the week 4, it had about, let's say, 300,000 because people realized how cheap it was. Let's read it a double, by the way. Let's read it like a 98. Let's like centavos and early centavos, because this is a double, so we're taking advantage of that. Okay, there it is. I did an error because this is all declared as a double. That's why I placed this just for extra caution. Okay. Okay, product and sales information. Product name, POCO F7. Here are the weekly sales for each week and the total of all of those week sales. See? Let's just compute it again. Why not? Okay, 100,000 plus 200,000. Excuse me, plus 150,000. Excuse me for the repetitive coughing because I'm a bit sick. Finally, plus 300,000. 0.98. See? 750,000 pesos and 98 centavos. That's already pretty good for this product or for the program. So we're done with this. Let's proceed to the next problem, which is athletes. Okay. Athlete event time analyzer. So problem description. Excuse me. Design a Java OOP program that evaluates an athlete's performance in multiple events. Again, it requires me to create an athlete event time analyzer program to just find the shortest time the athlete did something. I'm not sure what type of activity it did or what type of event. It's just an event, okay? It wasn't explicitly stated what type of event, but it was just an event. Okay, so create a class athlete. I already did this. Field string athlete name. Yep, variable athlete name. A double array named times. That stores 5 events. 5 times events. I've already limited this again to only 5. A class must have a constructor. Already set this to get the name and the times, or rather the array times. excuse me, a method this bestest time, just to find the shortest time for the entire array, and finally, a method display information to print all of the events and the fastest one. Okay, in the main class, again, separated another file, the name of the athlete in 5 times, or 5 of the events, create one athlete object again, instantiated only one object, and display all the data. So let's see that in action. Okay, so here, we're going to start with the main again. Okay, here's another Java scanner right here. I'm going to skip through the different parts because you already know how they work, since most of the programs are going to be similar, or at least what they're trying to encompass or get. So scanner, again, double the array to store the different times of the events. And then here, string, for scanning the integer, or rather, the string of the athlete name. Then again, for loop again. This is to get each time, or each event time, starting from event 1 to event 4, or rather event 5. Indexing to 0 to 4 again. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. See, 5 times. So, again, similar to what I've made earlier, it's just going to start from 1 to 5. Enter the event time. Each loop, it will print this. And each loop, it will ask the user to input something. Okay. Athlete in athletes again. Athlete as the object, athlete as the variable to actually be accessed or be used in accessing the methods, and then accessing the method and the attributes, by the way, and then the new athlete to actually create the actual athlete object. Putting here the parameters or the arguments of athlete name and time. Here, the athlete name of string, and then times of the array. Excuse me. And then calling again display info using the method of the athlete display info. Okay. Now we've already done this. Let's go to the actual program. Okay, it's a bit longer, so I'm gonna exit this for a bit. Okay. So public class athlete, again, athlete Java, string athlete name, and athlete times, or the actual array. They will all be declared using, again, the constructor right here. Will be passed through here from the earlier call from the main.java file. Pass through here, will be instantiated, or will be declared in the athlete name right here. This will be declared into the times argument array right here. That we're going to public double best time. This is the actual method that finds the best or the shortest time, event time of the entire array. So it goes to 0 to 4, meaning 1 to 5. It's 0 to 4 because it always starts at 0 and ends in around 4. That's why it's less than 5 here. So, double, again, to store currently the best. So the current best is going to be 0. This is going to be by default because we want to check for each array. We can't just put here times I is less than times I plus 1. It wouldn't make sense because it will forget the previous I if you move on to the next I in the next iteration, if that makes any sense. It will forget the previous one if it was actually shorter. So this would make sense to actually store it temporarily here. So I store the first index temporarily here, declaring it as the slowest time first. But if it finds that the next part of the array starting 0, this is why 0 plus 1, that's why it's also minus plus 1, so it only indexes or rather reaches up to 3 because, 4. 4 because, it's going to be plus 1. There's plus 1 here, so it wouldn't make sense if it accesses, let's say you're at index 5, index 4, let's say this doesn't exist, and you're at index 4 right now, almost completing the iteration. It would make this 4 plus 1. 4 plus 1 would be equals to 5, which is out of bounds of the array. That's why I made it minus 1. I could have done this better, but this kind of fits for me for some reason. Or rather, it just fits my logic, so I made it like this. So, it checks the first array, or rather, the second index of the array, or index 1, and checks it if it's lower, or it's less than the current stored lower. The current stored best, or the current stored lower or lower time. If it is, then it would immediately replace it right here. See, immediately replacing this. If it is, that is, and of course it will do this. Why did I do this? So let's say the best time was around. By the way, I declared a new field name right here. Let's say the best time was actually the first index right here, or rather index 0. This will be used to actually determine what time that is. So it will be printed out here. Let's say it was index 0, so that would be event 1. So by default, it will be event 1 because this condition won't work, or it won't exist, or won't actually proceed because it was the first one that was actually the lower. We'll create this as the default value, event time 1. See, it makes sense. But if it's set, let's say the second, or rather index 1, because earlier one is index 0, let's say it was index 1 that was actually lower. So it will activate this condition for the best index here. And then of course, this will happen. 0, current value of I, 0, plus 2, because this is actually the second event. It wouldn't make sense for me to just add I plus 1, because that would be the first event, which is going to be this. That's why it's 2 here. So if it's actually the second event, it would print out here number 2, rather than 1, if it's the second event, or an index 1, if that makes any sense. Index 1, that's actually the second event. I'm just reiterating because it might sound confusing on what I'm saying right now. Yeah, I'm reiterating. Index 1 is actually the second event. That's why I did it like this. If it detects that the index 1 is actually higher, or rather lower, than the current best, then it will do this, storing it in best, and of course, will be referenced using this. Event name will be changed to 2 if it is index 1 that's actually slower, or rather lower, and then it will be printed out right here. So, if that made any sense, it will also return best, the best time right here. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, best time right here. Being stored here. Okay. Okay, not make any sense. Okay, let's move on. I'm so sorry. Just imagine this basically like if it's higher, it will add 2 because it starts from 0, and it will replace the current best, which is going to be index 0, to index 1. See? Okay. Still gonna be same formatting here. I just stick to my own format. Athlete event time analyzer, athlete name, doing this, we passed earlier, and then printing all of the athlete event times right here. 0 to 4 again, index 0 to index 4, event time, index 0 to 4, times. This will iterate and print this in every iteration again, just to show the different athlete times, or athlete event times. Print out a space, and then print this, the actual best time of the athlete. Using the computation from earlier, this was already called through here, right here. So, if I can just call it right here, because let's say that this was, let's say it finds that the index number 2 was actually the best time. So this will still be 1, and this will be the actual second index, or rather index number 2. So it wouldn't make any sense if index 2 and this referencing index 0 would be printed out at the same time, because this happens first before the call here, which changes this late, because this was already printed and this was called before, or rather after this was already printed. So this will constantly be 1 regardless of what was the best time event actually is. So that's why it was important for me to call it beforehand and then use it afterwards. So let's say it's actually index 2 that was the best time. So it would be immediately computed, and this will immediately change to number 3. If it was index 2, that is, because index 2 is 0, 1, 2, 3. So this will become 3, referencing event time 3, and the best time of number 2. Okay. Let's put that in action. Oh, that was a very, very long explanation. Again, I've already compiled this, you can see. Okay, let's try it out. So, let's enter the athlete name. Let's say my name. I'm not an athlete, but I don't really know who to reference. Okay, Nickolai, Dabu. Enter the event one. Let's say I got 9 seconds for the first event. Let's say I got 5 seconds for the second event. Let's say I got 3 seconds. 3.4 seconds for the third event. Let's say I did worse for the fourth event and got 6.4. And finally for the fifth event I got 2.3. See? The fourth index referencing 5 being referenced as the fifth time, which makes sense. 0 to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. See all of the previous event times that I've already inserted here, and then the best time right here, finding the last one. If the second index was lower, or rather, the logic from earlier, if it was lower, it will be stored to best. Not, this will be default. Pretty much it. Pretty much how this works. Right here. That's pretty much it for the third problem. Now let's move on to the fourth problem. So the fourth problem, okay, I'm sorry, I accidentally pressed that by accident. Okay. So the fourth problem wants me to create a book review rating collector program. Basically just averaging all of the reviews of a particular book. Reviewed by stars, starting from 1 to 5. So here I actually did the difference from this one to the other ones that I've created. This has a limit to 1 to 5 stars only. So I've made a validation for this only, but only for 1 to 5. If a user inserts something like a string on an integer input, then it will say error because I didn't exactly put a validation for that particular part of the program. But I only put validations for here because it was explicitly stated. So again, I created a class book with the field string title, an integer array named ratings containing 4 user inputs, or rather 4 user ratings. Again, I've already explicitly declared it. A constructor, and it didn't finish it, but it's probably just going to ask the same thing as from earlier, storing the names and the array. Okay, where am I? Okay, okay, that was an accident. My bad. I thought total income to display the total. No. I meant this. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Calling the average rating method to compute the average of each rating, and not each rating, but all of the ratings, and then method display info to print all of the information, each rating, the average, and the actual name of the book. We created one. Sorry. We created one book object and input the book title and 4 ratings. And I used it to display the summary using the display info again. So let's move on to the program. So it's gonna be still the same format as earlier, and a bit of a difference since there's a validation now. Okay, scanner again. Okay, I have to rest. Okay, okay. Import scanner again. Oh, no, I accidentally pressed something by accident. I'm not really sure why that was there. Okay. Okay, nothing happened. Okay, that's good. Okay, I used the scanner again and the class main function. Again, similar formatting. This time using the rating array and the check. This is for validation right here. Oh, let's just ignore that because I accidentally pressed debug. Yeah, for validation right here. Here, we tested out whether the user inputted around 1 to 5. If they inputted something lower than 0, it's not going to be valid. Lower than 1, it's not going to be valid. Or if the user inputs something greater than 5, also not going to be valid. Okay, enter book title, scanner line again to scan or to save the user input of the string to title of the book basically, and then print out reviews. Each reviews. This is just referencing each reviews right here. It's basically just a title before this shows up which asks the user to input a user review for each iteration, starting from 0 all the way up to 4. Or rather, not 4, but 3. Wait a minute. Okay, never mind. 0, 1, 2, 3. 4 review. 0 to 3, basically. 4 ratings. Enter starts to review. Excuse me. 1 to I plus 1 again. 0 plus 1, just to reference that it is the first review or the first rating, regardless if it was index 0, for us to understand, because there's no such thing as a review number 0. Okay, check again to save each of the integers, but I didn't save it directly to the array yet, because this will be validated first. If the user inputs something, let's say 1, it will check is 1 greater than 0, true, and it will check is 1 less than or equals to 5, which is going to be true, and finally it will actually be stored in the ratings, and it will iterate again for the next input. Which this will change. 1 will be changed to something new depending on the user. But if it detects that, let's say you input 0, let's say you input 0 first, yeah, okay, is 0 greater than 0, it's going to be false, which makes the statement entirely false immediately because it's an end statement, which will proceed you to here, the else statement, which will prompt the user to re-input because it will restart the iteration. Rather than plusing or adding, it will be minusing the I, so you can do it again to properly input something proper. It will print out this warning message, not a valid rating, because it's only 1 to 5, as explicitly stated here. If that's already done, the user inputted all through 0 to the third index, they can do this now, actually calling the object of book using the book variable, or smaller case, new book, and the actual information that was already asked to earlier here, using the scanners, ratings and the title, rating array and the title string. And we'll finally call the information using this, calling the method of book display info. Okay, go to the actual program. Will be passed through here again. The first parameter from the earlier main Java file will be passed through here, declared to the title, and then ratings. The array will be passed through ratings array, the smaller case one, passed through here. Okay. So public double again, it was explicitly stated as I used double because again this is an average. It would make sense if it would have decimal. So yes, I used doubles. It was starting out for double average, kind of similar to the first problem, storing each, just adding them first for each array, starting from index 0 up all the way up to 3, and then dividing it by 4, because there's about 4 reviews. To get the average, you have to divide it by, you have to add all of them and then divide it by how many of them, which is 4. Similar to the question earlier. Is again just average is equals to average divided by 4, and then returns the double average, the double value of average. After it does that, will be placed around here. Again, this is still similar formatting. The name of the program, book title, title of this, ratings. We print out each rating first before actually doing the computation. Again, it will iterate to starting from index 0 all the way up to index 3. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 reviews. So index 0, let's say it's index 0, print this out. Referencing index, not referencing index 0, it will become review 1. And then index 0 right here, printing the index 0 array, or what's stored in index 0. After that, prints out this, the actual rating, space, and the actual rating, or the average of all of the ratings that the user have inputted. So, let's see this in action, shall we? So, what the heck is this? Okay, that's my bad. I'm not sure what is that. I'm sorry for my language. Okay, so let's actually try to, excuse me, let's actually try to do something, or use a program. It's just this weird thing, I'm not sure what this is, but let's just ignore it. Okay, so let's enter the book title. Let's be a good. Let's say The Elf by Machiavelli. Elf. Did I spell that right? I'm not a book reader. I just know this because of an anime. Okay, enter reviews. Let's say the first review was 4 stars. Ooh, that's actually pretty high. Say the next review was 5. Ooh, they really loved it. Let's say the next review was 0. But it makes any sense. So it asked me again, like the I minus minus from earlier, to reiterate and properly actually use the 1 to 5 stars. So I can't go back beyond 5 and I cannot go below 1. So let's say the third review was 3. Fourth review was 5. And there we go. The computation showed me all the reviews, the ratings, and prints, the title of the book, and the average. Let's do that in computation again. 4 point, no, 4 plus 5 plus 3 plus 5. 17 divided by 4 because there's 4 of them, and sure, the same thing. Ratings average 4.25. Program is done, it works, and then that's pretty much it for this program. No validation, only the validation here is that the user can only input numbers 1 to 4. I'm actually curious what happens if I enter a letter. I think this will lead to an exception error. But let's just try it real quick. Let's just try it right now. Let's say I input a letter. Yep, an exception error. Because I explicitly mentioned I did not use a try catch. Yep. No try catch. Yeah. No validation. Okay. Now let's proceed to the final one, which is the main.java for the final problem. Yes, the final problem. Okay. Now, the final problem requires me to create a program that stores, or rather that reports or shows the total value of the income report for each of the months. So it's a store month, the income report program, 6 months, basically 6 values will all be adding into one and then showing it using the display info and using one object again. So I've already made the requirements, I already made the field string store name and a double array named income, storing 6 data types, or not 6 data types, rather 6 double data. Think 6 double data types of months. Basically, this is the money or the income for each month. If that makes any sense. I'm so sorry. Okay. Include, again, the constructor. I already made this, including the name and the array that will be inserted. The method to compute the total income, and then display info to show each month's income and total. Again, this includes the name, by the way. Okay. Total income and display. Okay, yeah. I thought that was a spelling error. Correct. Okay, after that, input store name and 6 income values again. Using the main class again. 6, because it's 6 months. Each month, it will be the income of that particular month. Starting from index 0 to index 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Create one string object, I've already done that. And then display using this. Okay, let's see that in action. Starting again with the main file. With the main class. Okay, so again, scanner for the user input and double array here, as well as the strings for the store name. Enter store name as the will prompt the user to actually input something, space, and then we'll again for loop, starting with this first, printing this before the actual loop, just to determine that you're in this part of inserting each month or each income per month. So starting from index 0 all the way up to index 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 6 times. Because there's 6 months, it's going to be 6 times. So storing them in index per index, or rather per, how do you say this? Per month. All of the incomes. Okay, let's say you're in the first iteration. Enter income for the first iteration or for the first month. First month, even though it's 0 iteration or the 0 index, that's again going to be referencing to 1. Or rather, it's telling us it's 1 because yeah, it wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't make again any sense if it starts at 1, 0. Wouldn't make any sense. Okay, starts from 1 to 1, and then each time it will store the index, or it will store the value of that particular month's income into whatever index or part of the iteration of the array we are already on. Let's say you're at iteration 0, this will become 0, and that will be technically the first month. You're at index 1, this will become 1, and you're in the second month. Yeah, basically the same thing as the other programs. After that, we can now use this, the store function, or rather the store object, using or being referenced as the store variable right here with the smaller s. And here, the arguments for store name right here, for the string of the actual name of the store, and income for the argument or our array of the income right here, the different incomes for the each months. And finally, calling again the method of store display info. Excuse me. So let's start passing through the different values again, the string name and the double income right here, or the array of double income. It will store the string name right here. Oh no, I accidentally messed up the program. It would store the string name used in the store or the main Java class, and the name, income, and the income, the array of income. I'm sorry for the noise. There's a lot of people all of a sudden. Am I gonna cut this, or okay? I think it's fine now. Okay, income array passed through the main Java file will be stored to income here. Will be stored or declared into income for the instance attributes over here. Okay, they're stored now. So let's do the computation, or what's going to happen. So this will be called using this total income. Starting off with total will be equals to 0. This is similar to the product one earlier. You just add all of the income and then return a double because it's requiring a double. The problem requires a double here. Double array. After the computation, it will be stored into the double variable, finally returning it through the method. So when it calls, it will be that method would be that particular computation, which will be stored right here. This will basically become the total. So similar formatting. Oh, yeah, by the way, it starts from index 0, basically 1, all the way up to index 5, basically 6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 times. Be adding it to total for each iteration. Okay, so store monthly income again. I've done this, so it can be much more cleaner looking. By the way, if you've noticed, for each of my programs, I've used a for loop to add or do average, which, if you think about it, makes sense. Let's say if you want to expand the program, it would make sense to just keep using for loops. I did not decide to, just paste it instantly right there. Let's say quiz 1, index 0 plus quiz 1, quiz 2, index 2, because it would look weird. This makes much more sense, especially if you're planning to expand the program. It would be better to use the actual for loop. But if you're going to expand it, you just have to replace this with length of the array. A function in Java, I think it's called .length, but yeah, just for expandability and reusability. Okay, same formatting, store name, the string that was passed through earlier through the main function or the main class, space, income per month. This shows up first before showing all of the incomes that were stored to the different array. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, there was just a dog under my foot. Okay. Stores for each iteration, it will print this out, starting from index 0 all the way up to index 5. So let's say you're at index 0, it prints this out. Month will be equals to month. Will show 1 because 0 plus 1 is 1. Because there's no such thing as month 0. And then this to separate. Let's look for looking formal or uniform. And then we'll actually show that particular incomes array or index. Since this is index 0, it will show the first month. If it's at index 5, it will show the 6th month. So it's already done. It's already good. And then we have come to here, calls this, does the computation over here. and then it pretty much just gives it all to us. Pretty much it. Let's see that in action again. Enter store name. Let's say the global. I love Poco devices because I already own a Poco device. So let's say Poco Global Store on Shopee, I think. So let's say their first income was about. Wait, was this actually store product? Yeah, it was store. Never mind. Okay, we're good. Say their income was about 1 million. So how many zeros is one on 1 million? Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, $7. This is on dollars, by the way. Point something. Say that high. About 2 million for their second month. Say they went down a bit, went down a lot. 700,000 for their third month. Fourth month, say they only managed to make about whatever that value is. I'm not mentioning it because I just randomly pressed numbers. Finally, they earned about 100,000 for the fifth month. Oh, by the way, I didn't say finally. That's second to the last, by the way. And this is actual finally. They earned about that much in the last month. Hopefully that ain't okay. I think that's 100,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 100,000. Okay. So goes to the source.java. There's the computation and the information right here. Yeah, the number is a bit too high. I think it was a bit too high. That's why I pressed E right here. Yeah, the number is too high. I guess it just uh there's something weird. I think that's on Java side. Let's try again. Let's try something a bit more simpler. Okay, focus our global again. Focus our global. Let's see, the first income is about 900,000. Let's just lower it a bit since, yeah, a bit too high. I can't compute it properly. Say 120,000 for the second month. 990,000 for the third month. Fourth month, 89,000. Excuse me. Fifth month, they made a bit more money right here. So, gonna add some bits of it. Okay, whatever that number is. Finally, for the 6th month, they made about 100,000 again. Where's 100,000? Not again. Okay. It didn't show any of the weird numbers because, yeah, it's not bypassing something ridiculously high. So, shows here each of the values I've entered and, of course, the totals. Let's just do the computation real quick to validate. 900,000 plus 120,000. Oh no, I did wrong. 900,000 plus 120,000 0.12 plus. Wait, what did I press? Okay, I think I pressed something wrong. I'm so sorry. Okay. Plus 900. No, not 900, 90,000, 0.21 plus 89,000, 0.21 plus whatever this number is, 3121, 21.21, 312. Okay, I'm just gonna recheck because I may have input it wrong. 312, 12, 312, 121, 312, 121.21 plus 100,000.2. 1611121.95. Yep, it's the same. It did the computation correctly. So I think that's about it for each problem that was given to me. So I've solved it using mostly for loops, arrays, as mentioned by our professor, or as explicitly mentioned by each problem, and of course using two different files and object-oriented programming, showcasing public classes being accessed to different files within a particular folder, showing actual object-oriented programming and code reusability. You can technically keep using this code or this block of code. Let's say here, you can use this block of code in another program by just creating an instance of that particular code or instance of that particular object, which in this case is store. So that pretty much sums it up for all of the problems mentioned by our professor. So that's all. Okay, thank you for watching.